how would I apply psychometrics in coaching? Any guesses?
You mean the finding of the test or running the test? Finding of the test.
Running is administrative. It's how do you kind of get them to respond to it. But yeah, how do I use the findings? That's the more relevant thing for the coachee.
So that is one, to be aware and then tailor my approach as per my coachee's preferences all the time.
That's ongoing, that you tailor your approach throughout your engagement. As you interact with the person, you kind of check in with yourself. If this is the person who's there in front of me, what would work better for this person, and you tailor your style accordingly. Absolutely. Okay, from a coaching engagement perspective, at which place, at which point would you want to bring in psychometrics?
Before
the start, probably,
coaching.
right?
Discovery.
In the beginning.
Okay.
Whether you explore it in discovery, whether you do it in your first 1 or 2 conversations, you check in with the client. If they're comfortable going through an assessment, have they had any exposure? Would they be, would they want more information or clarity on what the tool is, etc. And of course, there might be some tools which may have a cost element. So of course, you need to check in if the client is comfortable doing that, etc. And whichever tool or assessment, psychometric that you are referring to, be very clear in communicating what the tool is, what is the output that the client can expect to see, and hence, what is the value that the client is likely to derive. So give the whole picture so that the client can take an informed decision on, yes, I would love to explore this, or no, I'm not comfortable, or yes, I would be, but not, at this time or not at this cost or whatever. Allow the client to take an informed decision. Irrespective, whatever you do, whether the psychometrics is in or not in, it's a safe, non-judgmental, supportive space for the client. Do provide the clarity, the reassurance that whatever tool you're using, what has been your earlier experience? Why do you think it's useful? Why are you recommending it to this particular client, right? What's the benefit for them? That's one. And two, be mindful that there are the only pitfall, okay? The only thing I would like to point out is sometimes clients can get surprised by what comes out of a tool. I have an internal view of myself that doesn't align with what's coming out in a report. Okay, so do be mindful, set that context that this is what the tool is assessing for. This is the kind of output or the kind of report that you can expect. Timelines, cost, whatever. If there's a logistical element, I'll be giving you will get a link, do this on me. You need to go to so-and-so site, create your login, whatever. So tell them the logistics of that, but also provide them that reassurance that I've used this before, I've had this experience, so many clients have benefited, it'll save you time, it'll give you a rich insight, etc. And if required, if your client is being sensitive, or if you discover at the time of debriefing, when you see that report, the client is surprised, it's not landed too well, for whatever reason, it can happen in a few scenarios, okay? Be very comfortable in sharing the context of that particular tool. Like, for example, we'll be talking about a few tools today, but what came up in our earlier discussion, Raghu brought in Gallup. Okay, now when I took Gallup for myself, I was so disappointed. I was really upset the day I got my Gallup report. Because what showed up as strengths for me, I thought I was a misfit in the role that I was doing at that point in time. My organizational context was, there were some expectations of the role. I would have loved to see some other strengths featuring in there. But what showed up as my strengths, I thought don't lend themselves to the role that I am doing. Okay. It didn't matter as much because A, I had voluntarily taken the Gallup Strength Finder assessment. B, I was just beginning to flirt and experiment with coaching and various tools. And so it was for me more of a discovery of what is Gallup about. Okay, but the results did surprise me. So if it was done in an organizational context, so for example, if my organization had administered this test for me, I would have been really upset that now what will happen next? What's going to come out of this? Does that mean I'm in the wrong role? Does this mean I should not be doing what I'm doing? What do I need to change? Do I need to look for another job? What should I do next? Okay. So be very mindful of setting that context for the assessment or the tool that you're choosing, why you're choosing it, what are the outcomes, what are the applications of that outcome for the client. Okay. It might be useful at times to tell the client that, look, this is what this assessment is measuring for. Okay. And each tool typically has some specific language that they use. So for example, Hogan, for example, okay, a large inventory, 3-4 reports in there, 3 big reports in there. Hogan, for example, uses a word that says is mischievous and is bold. Okay. The association of that word that we have with mischievous is very different from Hogan's definition of what is described as mischievous. Similarly, there is a scale called adjustment. Okay, we typically mean adjust means compromising. You adjust in any situation, you are adaptable. Okay, but Hogan's definition of adjustment is very different. It's very, very contextual. It's very specific. So one, if you're administering a psychometric, don't leave too much gap between the output, the report coming out, and the time you can debrief the client. So set that context, because a lot of times the debriefing conversations are the conversations that are truly adding value to the client in terms of understanding and awareness about themselves. So don't let them have too much of time to misinterpret and wrongly process what they are seeing. Okay. Yeah, Seema.
When do we advise for a psychometric? Is it start of the session or in between?
Beginning of your engagement for a specific purpose.
But then how would we know? Because only after we converse with the client, at least the first meeting, we'll know what assessment is required. So
yeah, so it can happen after discovery. It can happen after discovery. Like, don't do it in the middle of your coaching journey. So for example, now you're engaging with a client, let's say for 10 conversations over 3 months. So don't bring in psychometrics at your 3rd, 4th, 5th conversation. Bring it in your discovery, bring it in your 1st, 2nd conversation. Okay. And it also depends, depends on what objectives they have identified. So what does your discovery, what emerges in your discovery, right? Now, if somebody is coming from the executive corporate space, they are working in a role, they have, some specific competencies that the role requires, or the organization has defined some leadership capability, things like that. Then you want to assess for that.
Okay.
Somebody comes in with a background that, I don't socialize and it's impacting me. I work in the media organization. Then you want to say, okay, let me figure out your MBTI. Let me see what's coming out here. Somebody comes with you with a life coaching scenario. You just want them to reflect internally and see, let's find out who you are. Why is this landing so hard on you? Why is the scenario impacting you so much? So then based on that, you would have a recommendation. So absolutely, you'll only discover that after your chemistry conversation.
Okay, sure. Thank
you. Just one moment, one moment. Yes. Having said that, Seema, if at all you are going to use a psychometric, then you have to partner with the client to allow the psychometric to shape up their goals. Okay. Because then the awareness is about who am I and what do I want to accomplish. So that connection has to be made upfront before you then actively start coaching them. So if 1 or 2 conversations have happened, it's okay, because your first couple of conversations will anyway be around goal setting. Yeah. But make sure those dots are connected before you actively start the coaching process.
Sure, got your point. Also, now that you mentioned about MBTI, so especially with MBTI, they're very particular. They're particular with this as well, that people who have certified are the only ones who would be helping with the reports.
Yeah.
Right. Anahat is very particular about that. Now, if we are not certified, then how do we take it up? And we see that the requirement is MBTI.
Yeah. So you partner with somebody who's certified. Simple.
Okay. Just to read the report.
Unless you wanna explore it for yourself and get certified. Don't. I would recommend partner with another coach from the fraternity. Get some connects where you can bring tools, use certified people, because it can backfire if you're not aware of the nuances in it. It can backfire with the interpretation. So
yeah, specifically with MBTI, it does. So it may sound little, I don't know, weird, but how about the costing? Then we tell the client that along with the test, you will also be charged, or you will have to bear the other person's services cost as well.
Yes, you have to contract for it. You have. Not a weird question at all. It's a very practical question. You have to plan for it. So if you're using psychometrics and then it has to be part of your contracting, that if you bring in these things, they will be outside of the coaching engagement. A lot of coaches will not price it separately, will bake it into their coaching cost. Okay. So I'll use a friend of mine and say, how much will you charge me for a debrief? This is the kind of doing, and a typical debrief will anyway be a 45-minute, 1 hour conversation, right? So you will bring in you may bring in somebody, or even if you're doing it yourself, right? That debrief will be a standalone conversation as a part of coaching. It will be scheduled separately, and it will be baked in either separately. Then you call out the cost to the client, contract for it separately, or you build it into your coaching cost, and you kind of say that, look, I'll bring in a subject matter expert. I'll get in somebody who's really good at MBTI, certified. Let them debrief you, and then I will pick up the report from there. So in which case, of course, you have access to the coach's reports. You allow the expert to do the debriefing to the coachee, but also to you, so that you understand what will be shared with the coachee, and then you know where to pick up the conversation from the coachee.
Okay. And suppose if the contracting is done, and after that in the conversation, we come to a point that there is a need for a psychoanalysis, psychometric test to be taken. Then we go back to the contract to,
then get an agreement with the client. Then that's saying what it's going to be. Are you comfortable?
All right.
I have some observation to share about this psychometric testing. I have been certified in OPQ32, MBTI, Thomas Profiling, Predictive Index. I find that there are a lot of cultural nuances are there, and it becomes, particularly MBTI, it was a 5-day US-based training program, but application in India and debriefing takes a lot of time. People have no patience to talk about typing. So I don't know, I'm still not very convinced personally how you will bring in the psychometric test into your thing. While it's an important thing, I want you to tell me more about it, because each has their own way of interpreting, and the disc what we have done, what MML provides should be more than enough, rather than getting into, because MBTI is quite a lengthy kind of thing, and it's all, as you rightly mentioned, you have to do it. While in India, there's an organization in Chennai which does this thing, and they take the report.
Anahat,
yeah,
right.
Anahat. Only licensee in India is Anahat.
Yes. So they will give a report. Earlier it was taking 1,600 rupees. I have used it, but many of the people are customizing and doing themselves without paying, which is not ethical.
Which is not ethical, correct?
Yeah.
Now I believe it's 3,000 something.
Possible. So I'm not
serious. MBTI is 3,000 now.
Yeah, as in I had, so Mahesh, the guy who did it, he was very particular that I want someone who's been certified from us to do it, because I did from Martha. So then I was like, okay, I got this person, and this person said altogether 3,000 plus my charge 3,000. So after that, I did not go back to Mahesh. I dealt through this person.
3,000 what? 3,000 what? The cost of debriefing? Is that the price for a debrief?
3,000, he said 3,000 for the debriefing plus 3,000 for the report. He charged us that much,
Assessment,
6,000 per head.
6,000, yeah. So
Per
3,000
head.
for the assessment and
Yeah.
whoever comes in and debriefs. Yeah.
Yes. So 6,000
But-
per head is what he charged.
Okay. That's good to know. I hadn't checked in on MBTI pricing for a long time.
Huh.
No,
What
but
about
nice.
type finder and
very
big
good
five?
point.
So my submission is whatever our MML they are providing, the disk, probably that will be a very, they are giving it lifetime free. So those of us who want to use it, I would say that is quite good rather than getting into OPQ32 or MBTI.
And Sundarajan is approachable also.
Now,
Sorry.
Sundarajan is old hat, but you do not have to go to Sundarajan. So disk is customized by MML, and they have devised this thing is quite useful. All of us gone through the disk profiling, what has been done by MML.
So for our coaching, we'll use only MML wala.
You should. No, there's no binding.
Guys, hold on. Guys, hold on. Can we have this conversation towards the end? Let's look at what tools are there, and then let's draw our own connections and let's figure out a game.
Yeah, sure.
Perhaps we'll have a little more information a few minutes down the line.
Sure.
Asit, but you raised some very good points. I want to talk about this. Okay.
Okay.
The ethics as well as what fits in where, and let's talk about disk as well. Lakshmi, was there another question, my dear?
No. The other assessment tools like type finder, big five, we'll discuss later.
Yeah. So we'll look at a few of them as a sample, and let's talk about a little bit more. Okay, so some classifications could be around interests, vocation. So these are the kind of aptitude tests, talent assessments, that kind of thing. Yeah, Seema, you got your hand up.
Sorry, I did not put it down from the previous one.
No
I
problem.
will.
No problem. So it can be around interest, aptitude, talent, that kind of thing. It could be around personality types, broad specifics. So type finder, personality, big five, workplace, big five. I think a lot of personality questions there. Needs and values. Lots of models there. There are like literally hundreds of assessments out there. Okay. Cognitive aptitude. Let's look at a few of them. So all these conversations around MBTI. MBTI is basically a personality type preference assessment. Okay, where do I draw my energy? It basically classifies 16 personality types. It has 8 variables, and the 8 variables combination leaves you with 16 personality types. It answers for questions like, where do I get my energy? How do I make decisions? How do I approach something new? It also talks about basics, introversion, extroversion, things like that. Okay. Also connects with somebody is a left brain person, data oriented versus somebody who's more intuitive, and so on. FIRO-B is about what do I need from people around me. It has basically 3 parameters, 6 possible outcomes that it measures on. And there is also a tool called FIRO Business, which is an extension of some modifications of FIRO-B adapted into a slightly more contemporary version of FIRO-B, which is the FIRO Business. Pretty similar, parameters are pretty similar. One rates numbers and absolutes, and one gives out the scoring in percentiles. FIRO Business is in percentiles. But it shows your behavioral orientation. What do I need to receive from relationships with others? So others in my ecosystem, in my environment. What do I need to get? What do I need to receive? How do I respond where my needs are not being met? Emotional intelligence ability. How do I identify emotions of others? Can I regulate self-emotions? Can I use emotions effectively to problem solve? Interest inventory, Saville aptitude, verbal, TKI for conflict management. There is, I think that's all we are talking about right now, but there's several more. So there is Harrison, Hogan, Belbin, workplace big 5, the popular ones. Okay, what else? What is missing? Yes, Seema.
So I know the top 3. I don't know the last 3. Okay. Now, would we get something from MML as in around these?
I don't think we are covering more tools, Seema, no.
Okay.
I think we're just giving, and even here, what we are covering as psychometrics, I think we are approaching it as a topic of how to introduce, how to use, what are the challenges, how can you address the use of psychometrics. We aren't getting into various tools. So what is being shared here is just a sampler that this is.
So this is just for our information
and very brief snapshot. Even this is not comprehensive information.
Okay.
This is just that, for example, tool is if you have MBTI, for example, what's the nature of the tool and what kind of questions could it answer for a client? If you use or explore or understand a little bit more, you will have to research outside. You will have to research independently to see what are the options available, what makes sense for me or not.
Okay, I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, and in general, you know, to the point that Asit was making earlier, right? That what is relevant and does what fits in is something like DISC, for example, adequate as for individual coaching, as opposed to let's say a Harrison, for example, or a Hogan or a Workplace Big Five, etc. They are these tools are slightly expensive. Two, most of these tools require a certified person to debrief. Three, there are sometimes dependencies around logistics, how they are, if they need multiple responders and so on. So they need an ecosystem for managing administration and logistics as well, right? So these are often most likely to fit in a corporate coaching, executive coaching kind of scenario.
I agree with you.
Yeah. And often what happens is, to the point, what we were discussing earlier, that when would you introduce it and which tool you would choose, etc. So sometimes a coach may not actually get the luxury of introducing a specific tool. If I'm coaching for an organization which uses, like, for example, if Accenture was my client and Accenture said we use Gallup Strength Finder, that's it. There is no choice for the coach. If you're certified on Gallup, you come and debrief us on the Strength Finder. It's as simple as that, right? If an organization comes and says that, look, for all our leadership, we use a 360 of this format. A 360 is, by the way, another commonly used tool. There are various versions of off-the-shelf 360-degree assessments. You can customize your own. It's simple enough to just make a form and administer it using a Google form or a SurveyMonkey or whatever, right? So again, if an organization says that, look, for this kind of an intervention, we would want to get peer feedback, then that's a direct input to your design, that I want to design a 360 with 3 peers responding minimum, 3 peers plus 2 subordinates plus 1 supervisor responding. That's a design that the organization has given you. So you may iterate or you can have a conversation around it, but the company's already said that, look, we want 360 degree done. So there goes your flexibility of what you want to choose. That can be both a constraint, and it can sometimes be a very direct input into the coaching design.
Yeah, sure. I mean, in corporate clients' case, most of the things are defined by them. But after doing this course, at least my intention is to look for more individual clients. So there we could suggest basis. I mean, if there is a requirement.
Yes, absolutely. For individuals, we have the flexibility to decide.
Yeah. Okay. Thank
you. 16PF is basically, I feel it's another name for MBTI. Okay, they are very, very similar in the outcome, as well as the style of administering, as well as the message that they give you. So I just saw that comment in there.
May I just,
could you tell us about TKI later on when you get to that?
TKI is basically a tool that can be used for assessing conflicts.
As in, how do I manage conflict, or
what is my style? How do I respond under stress, under a situation of conflict? What is my own preferred style of dealing with the conflict?
Okay.
So what are the likely So what are the watch outs for me? What are my preferences in dealing with a conflict? It's something for, again, for awareness, that if I get into a, I look at the TKI input, and I know that if I'm dealing with this kind of situation or this kind of personalities, then what are my tendencies in that situation? So what should I be mindful about? What are the strengths I can leverage, and what should my watch outs be?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Nama, you got your hand up as well.
Yes, Meghna, I just need to ask that, can DISC be also included in this table?
Of course,
Right.
course. This table can become 50 pages long. That's what I'm saying. But this is a very small, just an example, that when you're identifying tool, which tool is it? What does it measure for? What is the value? What will it answer for a coachee? Just be aware when you are talking about a tool, be aware of these basics when you introduce it. That's all we are trying to say.
Right.
There are a lot more out there.
Oh, and an approximation, how much time does a coachee take to attempt any of these? Roughly around about how much time does it take?
Nama, it's difficult to generalize because questionnaires range from basic 15-20 questions to, for example, Workplace Big 5 is 150 questions. Okay, and they will tell you the instruction on the test assessment tells you that, don't think about it, should not be taking more than this is divided into 3 sections. Each section should not take you more than 20-25 minutes. But really, people will respond at their own pace. But still, having said that, 150 questions is 150 questions. Even if you say like a 3/4 a minute per question, it's still, that amount of time.
Wow, coachee will say, I'm okay. Thank you, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sometimes, coaches feel very overwhelmed with this question, saying, "Kya test bhi dena padega?"
Oh God, okay.
So be your context setting very mindfully with the person.
Actually, also with a lot of cultural bias, but I had a lot of discussion with Thomas Profiling, international CEO. How do you adapt to Indian situation? Some of the questions are very specific to US. While he made an attempt to explain. Sundarajan was next to him. I told him, I want to discuss. He came from US. I told him, he's telling, our team, backend team is always trying to add questions with relevant culture specific things to India. But I still feel that if you give a larger, big test, and it will be an intimidation to the candidate. So use it judiciously and not use it just a matter of habit. Psychometrics should be used only when you need it.
Correct.
Well said, Ashish. Well said.
Very well said. Yes,
Correct. Absolutely, Ashish. It can get overwhelming. And while a lot of instruments say that, look, our database, our normative data is 100,000 people across cultures, across roles and seniority levels and various job types, role types, whatever. Truly and honestly, the left brain side of me is skeptical because I don't have visibility to what that design structure is. So you were telling me that yes, it caters for mid-management India, but I don't know. Does it cater for manufacturing? Does it cater for pharma? Does it cater for IT services? I don't know.
No, I agree. It can't enclose. In fact, mostly it happens when there are international organizations like Accenture. They have an international tie-up that we'll go with this company, Strength Finder only, Hogan only. So you have no choice. You will include, because you are contracted to do this, and psychometric also part. Because when we did a detailed thing when I was in Raymond, they had this OPQ. So OPQ, that organization they came, they did for top talent only OPQ, and they did a debriefing and they gave a report of 10 pages with all the details for each person who was selected.
Yeah. So this happens. Okay, so I'm not even familiar with the OPQ tool, Asit, but there are many. So for example, I have a client. I'm doing some coaching work for them. I'm doing some developmental team coaching for them, but they're also doing sales training, performance coaching for their organization, and they're using a report called Prism.
Prism. I've gone through Prism. Yeah, that's also good.
And I'm not certified on Prism. So I said, look, I don't want to right now invest time, effort, energy in onboarding Prism for one client. And it's their choice, right? So even that will also happen. You also as a coach have a choice. Do I want to get into this? I don't want to get into this. It's fine.
I agree.
So one of my friends has been after me to get into Belbin, and I'm like, I don't want to do anymore. I'm good for now. Let me focus on where my priorities are, right? So that'll happen. So I've
thought.
Yeah.
It's also one concern out here, that what if a confused mind is attempting these tests and who is not very aware of the self-awareness, is not really arrived. And a confused mind, because even these questions, even if we are to attempt, they're sometimes so overlapping and so confusing and actually demanding a similar response.
Absolutely.
So you get so confused and you get tired at the end of the thing.
It makes an impact. You will actually. I have had clients telling me that, look, I was fatigued by the time I finished the assessment. I was like, I was jumbled in my thinking by the time I finished because there are so many questions. And I had a long day, but I had been told that this is the deadline. So I had no more time. I had to sit and do it that day. I was getting calls. I was getting this. So you will have clients who will come back, and state of mind is a factor. So most instructions for most psychometrics, the instructions will clearly say that find yourself a quiet space. This assessment is going to take you 20 minutes. Please make sure you're not disrupted. So you will have instructions while administering the instruction. The instruction will be laid out on the instrument that you
Yes, I'm aware of that. But what if a confused mind is attempting, the chances are that the outcome or the result can be distorted or misleading.
Yes. It is a possibility. It happens.
Right. And I just heard you saying that you were disappointed at some point of time while attempting some test. I don't remember which one exactly you said.
Gallup.
So then is it that, you were, what exactly are you trying to say? You were expecting another kind of a result and you got something else?
I was very curious, okay? And there are 34 strengths in the Gallup inventory. Okay. Now some, like for example, result orientation, perseverance. So I would have liked some of that because I thought that was the behavior that was needed in my role at that point in time. Actually, bear with me a moment, and I let me just see if I can pull out that report. Now, hold on for a minute. If I can find it, I'll tell you exactly why I got surprised. Dr. Sukhmeet, did you have a question as well? I see your hand up.
Yes. So when we do these assessments, okay, and for say a bunch of employees or maybe a team, okay, now they are seniors. How do you? My query is here: are they ready for the change, or are they ready to accept the outcome of? So suppose XYZ is the report of one employee, and then after that we have some kind of skill-based approach for them, or some change which is required. So are their seniors ready for the change, and how do you kind of bridge this gap?
No, the short answer to your question is no.
Okay. Can we get them ready in some way? Because
they are not always ready.
Exactly. Yeah.
They are not always ready, and that's our job. And I'm just putting in that I found that report. So I'm just putting in my top 5 strengths that came out of Gallup. Okay, connectedness, intellection, empathy, harmony, and relator. Now this is who I am.
Again, one more time, please.
It's slow.
Empathy, I heard.
Connectedness.
Yeah.
Intellection. Empathy, harmony, and relator.
You're all of them.
You're one of the biggest good relators we have seen.
Exactly. That's my point. The point is, when I was in my corporate, when I took this assessment, and when I was in my, maybe this is about, when would have been about 6-7 years ago. I was still working in the corporate environment. I was in a role. I was working as a transformation leader for an IT organization. And I wanted some other strengths. I thought my aspiration was to cultivate some other strengths. Okay. And that's why I was surprised, saying, okay, now what do I do with this? This is who I am. What do I do with this? Am I a misfit in this role? Okay. Now, today where I am and I look at these strengths again, I'm like, okay, no wonder I have so much fun doing what I'm doing. Okay. But to Dr. Sukhmeet's question, maybe I was not ready to face what I got at that point in time. And after that, I've done 20 other assessments, by the way, and some of them have been surprises still. Right. And let me also tell you that there are a lot of coaching organizations, like coaching platforms, and everybody is designing their own strength assessment. Because it's an in thing to design a strength assessment. Somebody is saying, this is my whole person model, this is my this model, torch model, whatever, right? People are doing multiple. So that list is ever increasing. Pick and choose wisely where you want to invest, because it's not only money, but it's also time, effort, energy.
Exactly.
And each instrument has its own definition of the verbiage that they are using. So if they're saying, okay, we are 34, Gallup is saying we are 34 strengths. Then MBTI is saying we have 16 personality assessments. Then Hogan is saying we have this HPI, HBS, MVPI. So again, 10 here, 10 here, 10 here. So you are investing time, effort, energy in learning, understanding, and then each tool will come back and say, if somebody's got A and N, this combination can mean this as an interpretation.
Not only that, it is going to change our...
Then they are likely to do well in this kind of a scenario. So there are a lot of inferences attached over there as well, right? So pick and choose wisely where you want to focus your time, effort, energy. Though that world, that's a large universe of instruments out there. Okay, but let us understand some challenges. And Dr. Sukhmeet, your question I haven't addressed, but let me address it perhaps on the next page. And if you still have a query, we'll come back to it. Is that okay?
Yeah, that was my only query.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so few typical challenges. We spoke about the need to be trained and the need to be certified. Investing time in preparing for implementation of the tool, analyzing the feedback, and debriefing the results to the coachee. So, you know, if somebody is given an assessment, I can't just open my mailbox and say, come on, let me start the debrief at, 5 o'clock today. I have to prepare for it beforehand. I actually work with one of my clients, actually uses a combination of 3 or 4 psychometrics. Okay, this is, they have a structure of doing that. So they typically use either MBTI or FIRO-B. They use one strengths assessment tool and a 360. This is mandatorily their approach. As a start of the engagement, they will use a combination of at least 3, if not 4 tools to help a client identify that, look, this is how you are landing in the workplace. This is what your needs are, and this is what your peers are saying about you. This is what your ecosystem is saying about you. Now, what do you want to do? So they use 3 insights, 3 tools to give the clients all the information to make a choice about what they want to work with. That debrief itself is 2.5 hours long, because you got to debrief the client through 3 different psychometrics, right? And it takes me 5 hours to prepare for each debrief, because I have to look at one report, interpret it, one report, and draw my own connections, second report, third report, draw my own connections. Then I have to myself correlate, saying if the FIRO-B is 001 score and the workplace Big 5 is saying this, then what does it mean for this person?
But have you seen the difference with respect to that result and when you really interact? How much you have observed that change with respect to that psychometric result, which the client himself has done, and whatever that observation you are making when you are interacting through the coaching conversation, how much difference you are seeing?
Lakshmi, ask me your question again. I am not sure I understood your question.
Okay, so initially as a coach, we all will be doing a lot of psychometric tests, psychometric tests and all those things, right? So client will take from their point of view. Say, for example, they may be really kind of a I kind of a person, but they may not know. They may be thinking they are C or S kind of person.
Yeah.
But it is a 360-degree feedback by others. also will figure it, right? So if the person who himself is doing a lot of psychometrics, he may be perceiving on his point of view. But
Yeah.
as a coach, yeah, we interact, definitely it will differ.
Yeah.
So-
Of course. So there may be blind spots, and that's the purpose of using a tool, right? That awareness expands, because see, the fundamental flaw of human beings, okay? We see ourselves through our intent,
Yeah.
but we see others through their action and communication. Same thing is true of me. Same thing is true of you. I see myself through the lens of my intent, and I can only interpret the behavior of others around me. But I don't see my own behavior because my lens is already colored by my intention.
Exactly.
So how my behavior is landing, despite that intent, how my behavior is landing in my environment, it can be blind spots. There can be surprises. There can be pleasant and unpleasant surprises.
Okay.
Very
So
often.
then how much this tool will help us? Anyhow, 50% only we are seeing that. If you go by this tool view, we may be seeing this person on this point of view, but
Yeah.
while our conversation, we may really get to know he is this other way, right? So this may lead to unnecessary paths on the solution aspect.
No, Lakshmi, I will not read.
Mm-hmm.
I will not interpret the person.
Okay.
My place is not to judge.
Okay.
Okay. Are you surprised when you read your own report? Are there surprises? And what would you like to do about it? Do you think these surprises are these gaps, or are they not gaps for you? Are you impacted by these gaps? If the answer is no, it makes no difference. Fine, let it be. This is one snapshot of your personality. Yes, I am getting impacted and it's bothering me. Would you like to address it? How would you like to address it? Then I start coaching you on how you want to plug that gap. That's it. It's not my place to decide. If you are an introvert, sure. But I am an introvert and I am in a leadership role and my communication is not good and my team is getting, my performance is getting impacted. I would want to be more cohesive with my team. Okay, then I will coach you for a better bonding with your team.
Okay.
Okay,
so now,
but my place is not to judge. Introverted is as good as extroverted as far as I am concerned. It's who you are. It's who I am. We are all unique. We are all different. Okay. Is it having any impact on you? If the impact is not positive, is it your priority to address right now? Would you want to make it a coaching objective? The minute a client says, yes, I think I will benefit from working on this, or I want to mitigate this, or I want to cultivate some behavior to cope with this gap, then I start coaching them on that stated objective.
Okay, so our purpose of doing all this test is to find out who our client is. Is that right statement or not?
Two intentions. Okay. One, I find out who the client is. Now I understand from the report that Lakshmi is a very introverted person. So throughout my interactions, because I know that Lakshmi is not likely to speak up very often, I'm going to pause and ask, Lakshmi, are you doing okay? Is the space okay? Is there something? What do you think, Lakshmi? Would you want to come in with a reflection at this point in time? Because I know he's introverted, I have to draw him out. That's one, for the coach to know this is the person in front of me. Two, it's for the coachee to become aware. So Lakshmi, when you see that assessment and you realize that this is what our assessment is telling you, what are you taking away? What is standing out for you? What is resonating well with you? What's not resonating well with you? How do you think it's impacting in the role that you are in and the objective that you have? Is there an impact? What are the strengths? Also, we often focus on strengths, saying, if this is what, from this assessment, what are the positives that are emerging from you? What pleasant surprises have you had? Which strengths would you want to leverage?
Okay.
So it is also to bring coachees awareness. And one very strong application is to establish what the coaching objectives should be. So in the corporate space where we do multiple assessments, etc., the idea is often to understand who this person is, what is the leadership capability that is required, and what is that delta that they should be coached on. So primarily, a lot of application is around establishing helping the coachee become aware of, this is my gap, this is what I need coaching on. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and we spoke about the last one: investment, time, energy, commitment. All of these things which can be challenges. Both. You know, the slide says not much pressure on the coachee. It can be sometimes. You know, if my company is telling me that all 20 people in my 20 of my peers are taking an assessment, and that's going to be the basis of growth in the organization, it can have some adverse stress in the background. So be mindful of it. If that's the case, please address it in a positive way. And of course, it's a huge investment on the coach: time, effort, energy, money, getting certified. All of that takes commitment. Okay.
So this awareness of requirement of a psychometric assessment should ideally come up from the coachee, isn't it? Because while we coach, we are only assisting, we are only asking questions, and probably at some point of time it surfaces that, okay, fine, probably I need to know where, you know, my skill set lies as a coachee, you know.
So it's easy if the coachee is surfacing a lot of curiosity about themselves, right? Saying, why do I do this? Why does this happen? You know, why do I always start so well and then I get stuck? And then why do I give up? So if the coachee is surfacing a lot of, is talking about, you know, I want to understand myself better, or why does this happen? Or, you know, I want to know my, you know, like if they're expressing a lack of awareness, then it gives us an easy opportunity to introduce a tool. But it's a tall order for us to expect that the coachee will come up and say, hey, this tool is my need, because they won't know what's out there and what is going to fulfill their requirement.
No, I didn't mean that they'll come and tell you that, okay, fine, you know, I need this. Very rarely people would come and do that. What I want to know is, ideally while we are coaching, we just assist them, right? We just get it out from them. And so that is, I think here maybe it's a challenge on the part of the coach. Is it that you feel that, okay, you need assistance in terms of psychometric assessment to take it ahead?
What nature of assistance did you have in mind?
Maybe tailoring your approach further, you know, in the client or coachee and coach interaction.
In your engagement, if you want to use the inputs from a psychometric to tailor your approach, yes, absolutely. That would be the only big takeaway for the coach, right? Otherwise, the awareness is for the coachee. But you would customize your approach, your design, maybe, you know, the nature of the quality and the nature of your interaction will get input from the psychometric. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but again, you know, as Seema also rightly put it there, that it could sound, of course, the trust and credibility that we build with the coachee is definitely going to be there. But apart from that, it's going to be, you know, an additional cost for the client, I mean, the coachee, and how far they would or would not be ready is.
Yes, it is a challenge, especially in the individual coaching space. It is a challenge, and especially, see, what happens in organizations is the cost of the instrument itself is getting sponsored, right?
Exactly.
So for the coachee, it simply becomes input and awareness. And even then it's a challenge. Sometimes I agree with something is a surprise, you know, things like that, right? Or and especially 360 and all of people will come back and push back and say, I know who's given this feedback. I can, the minute I read this verbatim, I understand this guy has got a bias. I think this should have been excluded, blah, blah. So you will still have a lot of pushback, even on simple stuff. But yes, if you're in the individual client space, then cost can be it can be a barrier. Most people the people I know who in my circle of coaches, people who use psychometrics for individuals, what they typically do is they bake in the cost of the instrument and the debrief of the instrument across a few sessions. So they'll just kind of say that, okay, you know, I'll price my sessions at this plus X%, because then I'm going to, for this, they'll kind of differentiate by saying that if you are using these two instruments, then I'll be costing it at, you know, 5%, 10% higher, so that over the course of 7-8 sessions, they recover the cost of the two.
True.
Tool and the
One other, I think, better incentive is to add it in our contract at the beginning of the coaching.
Yes. Often what
I think the most safest and a better bet.
Yeah. Very often what people will do is sometimes only the cost of administration. So if you have to purchase a license or if you have to go to an institute to administer the test, they will just charge that as actuals to the client, and the debrief, if they're doing it individually, then they'll knock it off against a coaching session. But it's always the smartest thing to do, the most efficient thing to do is to contract it separately. If you're going to use psychometrics, call it out upfront that, you know, this is my coaching cost and this is the cost in case we'll check in, but here are the 4 or 5 tests that I typically tend to use, and they are priced at this. If at all applicable, they will be priced as additionals. Put that upfront in your contract. You'll anyway be having a finite number of psychometrics that you use. Get your comfort on costing and put it as an indicative cost upfront in the contract. One-time solution. Then if required, in your second conversation, in your third conversation, in your discovery, you discover that, okay, this is going to land well with the client, or, you know, the client is receptive, or he's expressed some need that can get met efficiently by the use of a psychometric. Introduce it, price it, go for it.
Okay, a quick one. Could we just put that in case we need to go for psychometric, you would be charged on actuals? Can we put something like that rather than putting the amount?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
I think that
Perfect.
is
Perfect.
most
Got
safe.
your point.
And putting it, what I see it as putting it in the contract in the very beginning is perfect. I mean, so that the client goes through it and is kind of ready, you know, prepared for it.
Yeah, sounds smart. Okay.
That's exactly what I'm saying, that you put down saying that, you know, if at all we use psychometrics, I typically tend to use these 5 instruments. You know, A is priced at this much, B is priced at this much, I charge at cost, and debriefing will not be charged separately, blah, blah. Whatever you want to put it up front in your contract. Then figure out what your MO is and accordingly word it in your agreement.
Also,
okay, so I am clear about it now, because earlier I thought it's like without knowing, I just put the psychometric tool and I put the charge. So now I'm going to mention I may use these and it would be charged on actuals.
Yeah, because see, ultimately you got it. You may use something, Seema, that you're not certified on. Okay, so for example, you decide to use, let's say, let's say you use MBTI and you're not certified on MBTI. Okay, now you know what the cost at which MBTI is administered. You know the cost of the debrief.
Yep.
Okay, so choose what you want to do. Do you want to the debrief, or do you want to price them both separately and put that number? So you put 6,000 if you want to charge for both and put it as a one-off session. Or if you want to charge only the administration, then you put 3,000 at cost. This is what I will. A lot of coaches also put a 10% markup on it. So they have a cost, and then because they are kind of also recovering their license fees or whatever over X number of clients, they'll also mark up the cost by 10%, 20% and say, you know, I'll do Hogan at 14,000. That's also an acceptable practice. So ultimately discuss with the client and accordingly put it in your contract.
Got it. Thank you.
I have a question, Meghna. I just want to know that since we are unaware of this and we've not put it into practice anytime, why are we talking about this cost? Is it a one-time purchase, or is it an app that we have to download? What is this? I mean, how do you get access to these psychometrics?
There are some psychometrics, Nama, which are free.
Okay.
There are some which are paid, free to administer, as in free as in if you want a coachee to take a assessment. There is a whole world out there of tools. We are just introducing people that this is one more competency that coaches develop. So if you'll notice, there are some people within our group who are familiar with some instruments.
Yes, yes.
Because they have had a chance, opportunity, they have cultivated, they've gotten exposure earlier, so they are aware of some tools. You may also end up hearing some of this from your client, you have a demand from your client. It's just that it shouldn't surprise you at a later point in time. And you have this knowledge upfront, so you can make choices of whether or not you want to explore this for yourself as a competency for coaching.
No, my question was, Meghna, that this is a one-time purchase. Most of them, I can understand, all will be different. So it's a one-time purchase, or you have to download a particular app to use one of these psychometrics. What is exactly, and why is it cost as great as, you know, something like 6,000 and 7,000 or whatever? I just
each tool is priced differently, Nama.
Yeah, okay, right. I understand that.
So again, no one answer. So for example, some tools. So for example, MBTI. Okay. Now MBTI has to be administered, which means every time you want to give it. Now, if I want to give Seema a chance to do MBTI and generate a report for herself, I have to approach the licensee for this person in the country, get a link which Seema will be given over mail so that she gets a questionnaire, then she responds to the questionnaire so that the report can be generated. Even if I'm trained certified, the report is generated by the platform.
I see. Okay.
So there is some cost associated with, license fees, whoever is administering the instrument, etc. And typically each instrument has different costs depending on how popular the tool is, which market is it catering to, who the founder is, who the license holder is, and so on and so forth.
Right. Okay.
So most instruments, either they are free, then they are free. The instruments which are paid typically have a cost per person. Okay. Some platforms will allow you to purchase a license. So for example, for DISC, if you want to purchase a license, I think DISC is a nominally priced license, and then you can administer from your own mail, etc. But you will still have to pay some cost per person.
Right.
Okay. So on. That's how it works.
I think all of us should take up one tool here and work in collaboration with each other.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea. Each of you take a one tool and become
a very good idea. Yes, absolutely.
If I want
good collaboration,
go to someone. If I go on this one, I go to someone. Okay, something like that.
Absolutely. So it's like cost effective, and then of course we remain in touch with each other forever.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, just a second. I think. Okay. Sorry. A lot of. There's supposed to be a video on here, but it is not playing. Okay, I'm so sorry, folks. Just allow me a moment. I thought this slide had a video. No video here. Okay.
If you have the video stored in the folder, it would play.
No, typically, our decks are all embedded. Okay. Okay, so what are we taking away from psychometrics? There's so much of discussion, we're going all around the place, but I really like the idea that one of you can become an expert in each of the instruments, and that way you have a community where you can go to for any instrument.
That is an aha for today for all of us.
Yeah, lovely, isn't that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Aha for today.
Okay, let's pause with that. And as always, we have extended our time. I thought I'll wrap this up by about 8:15 so that you'll get some time for practice. Would you want to have a two-way conversation, or would you want to have a single conversation that's slightly more spacious?
Can we have the previous slide, please?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
No, do we have any other information to cover, Meghna?
No, content. We are good on the content.
We are done. Okay.
The next slide is coming.
I was thinking, since we have only 25 minutes, we'll focus more over here. That's the reason why I asked.
I'm comfortable either ways. It will be great for you guys to keep having your practice sessions. You'll have started your buddy coaching?
Long back.
Yes.
You started your external clients outside of the coaching?
I haven't got anybody new. Old ones.
Yeah, so
I have started with three or four actually.
Wow, congratulations.
One of the points what you mentioned there when they ran the psychometrics test. So one person by name Said, he said, "Sir, this is not me. I mean, it's not getting what I'm actually." Then it took some time. Yeah, it happens. It has like thoda storytelling. Yeah. It does happen to few things. Let's try to understand why I got that karke. One session went on to that.
Yeah, see something very useful, one very useful line that I have used, okay, but be gentle about it because it lands very hard on clients. If you don't like the report that you're seeing, please go take a hard look in the mirror because this is who you are. It's a tight slap, okay? Be very gentle when you use this line, saying, okay, who answered those questions? Right?
That's fantastically said, Meghna. I tell you, I'm still laughing at it.
Yeah, because okay, you were disturbed, okay, you were tired, okay, it was a bad day, okay, but you gave those answers, buddy. Yeah, Dr. Sukhmeet. Sukhmeet, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I did. 1 second. Just give me a minute. The question I forgot.
Okay.
Yeah. I got it. Okay. So this is in fact not related right now to this topic, but I just for my information. So suppose I'm doing clients outside, do I have to start recording those sessions also?
Yes, you should. You should, because as you complete the program and as you get, have you all, this is GCP 3, you haven't started mentoring yet, right? You guys will first start with your group mentoring sessions, then you will have your individual mentoring sessions. So by that time, you will get this instruction. I'm just giving you a heads up, but this will be communicated to you in a structured, timely manner. Don't worry about it. But yes, you are expected to at least have done 10 sessions externally. Have done, not necessarily recorded, okay, but have done, so that you go in with the right context and the challenges when you start your individual one-on-one mentoring. You have a lot of time. You'll first, your mentoring, when it starts, it will start with group mentoring and then go into individual mentoring.
And all this we have to complete by 31st October or?
No. I think you have more time. Mentoring is only post the program completion.
Yeah, so Sukhmeet, last time there was an announcement wherein Miss Mule, Harshada Mule, she said that start recording your buddy coaching sessions. You need to record 5 of them and then give them best 30 minutes. And those 5 recordings you could have either with your buddies or anyone else that you would want to. I mean, if you're not getting time from your buddies, then you can coach anybody. It's just that they want you to have 5 hours of, five coaching sessions. Out of that, pick up best 30 for till October 31st. You'll have to submit that.
So just one.
One 30 minutes.
The assessments. And then I'm going to do the assessments for you guys.
Is it you, Meghna, who's going to assess?
Yes.
That's so great to know.
Oh, no. stress
So comes
about it.
coaching now.
Somehow I feel you're my best friend.
With lens, it will be assessed. We have to be extremely. It's good. I mean,
When I
All
joined
the
this
competencies
session,
and
feedback that
everything.
way. So
like, I must
For
say,
this batch, I've only trained you guys on competencies. So you guys better do a good job when you give me calls for assessments.
we will not put you down.
you know, before I joined today, I was so skeptical. I was like, okay, everybody's like, who's who and already worked and experienced in the industry. I don't know how the faculty would be and blah, 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 all that. But I'm so comfortable. I just feel like, oh, you all, thank you so much.
You have the best in front of you speaking to all of us.
I know. I felt
Meghna.
that. And thank you so much, Meghna, for being so.
I told you so in the beginning.
Yeah, you said that. I completely vouch on that.
Nah, for me, I just have fun. Okay, anything coaching, I just enjoy. What can I say? It's a privilege for me to be contributing to the coaching journeys of fellow coaches. So it's just a privilege. I just have too much fun. It's genuinely something I enjoy.
Your humility to say this.
And I mean it. I mean it. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to pass on the kind of fulfillment that I have derived from this profession. If I can have some multipliers, I think we'll together contribute a lot more to making the society a better place. So
absolutely,
truly a joy.
I can so resonate with what you say. Absolutely.
Yeah. So coaching is one of those things, right? When you touch one person's life and you help somebody grow, that person becomes better at where they want to be and what they take forward, and then they touch more lives.
Ripple effect. The ripple effect.
Absolutely, it's a ripple effect. It's a ripple effect. And what can be more rewarding than helping create people who are going to create more ripples, right? Simple. So that's what it is for me.